Very good. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Mind-Boggling Concepts in the Torah. As per usual, please put down any sharp objects and don't get too close to the microphone. You're always spreading those contagious diseases. We are hurtling through the Chumash at groundbreaking speed. And I think last week we did one pasuk. Not sure about that. Could be less, but at least one pasuk. So we're now to the next pasuk, verse 9, chapter 2, verse 9. Yitzmach Hashem Elokim min ha'adamah, and God made grow from the ground every tree called Eitz Nikmad, all the trees that were pleasant and to look at and good to eat. The Eitz Chaim v'toch gan, the Eitz Hadas Tovara, and the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Right? And this is where it all starts getting interesting. So, as we know, that God tells Adam not to eat from the tree of life. Sorry, Eitz Hadas, the tree of knowledge. Right? Now, this creates an awful lot of confusion around this choice. I don't think we're going to be able to cover it all in one session. We'll see how far we get. So Christianity has had an awful influence on not just the world, and some of it good and some of it not so good, but it's also had an impact on, it's strange to say, but how we view, how the Torah, how from Jews who learn Torah, view the Torah. And this is a good example of that. So Christianity is made up of three streams of thought. Right, like the gods can have relations with women, right? That's a pagan idea. So we took that one, right? The classic Jewish ideas, like love your neighbor like yourself, they took that one, right? And they ran with it, and that was pretty good. I think that's relative to what humanity was like before. It's probably it's almost certainly a step up. And then the third stream is Jewish ideas, Torah ideas that they got wrong, and this is one of them. So if you read this passage, you read this whole thing about the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. First of all, it's very strange because it's not a choice between good and evil, which is what you think it should be, but it's a choice between life and knowledge. Right? Now, ultimately, it's a choice between life and death, which is the epitome of what Torah Judaism is all about. And that's what Moshe says at the end in Devarim. Says, see, I put before you life and death, choose life. Because the tree of life is obviously life, Eitz Chaim, and the tree of knowledge is the thing that's going to kill you, says death. So that's the choice. But we would have expected, and they certainly did, Christians would have expected it'd be a choice between good and evil, and that's never the choice. So we need to understand what is the purpose of these two trees and what the choice is all about. So one of the things they got wrong is, and it's easy to understand how they got it wrong, is that knowledge is bad. Because you eat from the tree of knowledge, you're going to die. So that's a good hint. You shouldn't eat from it. So they took from that knowledge is bad, and that's where we get a lot of the problems in the Western world around knowledge. I mean, they tried their best to try and correct it with America, trying to backpedal their way out of free speech. it's a fascinating thing. But to see this moment in history where a good chunk of society, intellectual, so to speak, so-called intellectual society, are trying to limit free speech. Obviously, it's a very difficult concept for the Western world to understand, to deal with, and to plot and to make practical, because free speech doesn't mean license to say whatever you think, right? I mean, we don't have a concept in Torah of free speech, so we're not really hampered by this debate. Somehow, the Western world understands that Western free speech is a principle, a paradigm principle, a fundamental principle of a civilized society. It's axiomatic. So they don't really argue that free speech is good or not, which they should. They just take it as axiomatic, and that runs right into what has now become what's called hate speech. As Elon Musk said, it's not a battle against hate speech; it's a battle against the speech that they hate. So they're not against hate speech, because some of the vitriolic diatribes that they come out against the political people that they oppose is mind-bogglingly disgusting. So it's not against hate speech. That's not what's bothering them. But anyway, we digress. That's my occupational hazard. You might have heard what they're going to put on my tombstone. Yeah, right. Anybody? No, don't remember that one. He digressed. He's buried somebody else. So anyway, so where were we? So what does it mean? But anybody who understands Torah, a little bit of Torah, and understands Jews, just a little bit of Jews, knows that Judaism and Jews and Torah find it's the epitome of open-mindedness. I mean, you're not going to find a more open-minded group of people, and a more open-minded doctrine than you have in Torah. It's just not. There's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Even so-called Western civilized humanity is far from anything open. Right? You cannot go teach creationalism in the public high school today. Right? It's not going to happen. Right? It's evolution all the way. They do not tolerate any other opinions. Right? That's just the beginning. You could keep going on if you want, but there's a whole bunch of ideas and philosophies and ideas and concepts that especially Torah would ascribe to, or at least be open to, that they can't even contemplate. You can't discuss it. It's not open. They're not open-minded. Now, one of the things that's interesting about humanity is that everybody thinks they're open-minded. No matter how close-minded someone overtly is, right? Everybody thinks they're open-minded, and that is far from the truth. Very few people, including myself, are open-minded. Right? It's actually in this week's Parsha. It's a beautiful concept in this week's Parsha. Right? That if you want to look it up, now we're really digressing. Right? There's a beautiful, yeah, I know. It's a beautiful concept in this week's Parsha. If you want to look it up, it's in chapter 16 in Beshalach. Chapter 16, let's see if I can find it. Chapter 16. Oh, yeah, I've got it right here, sorry. Chapter 16 verse. Now I'm going to go out on a limb, but you're used to me now. Digress from, disagree with a lot of the people how they understand this pasuk, these few verses. Chapter 16, verse 15.
Could you repeat that again?
16, 15.
16, 15. Chapter 16.
See it?
Yes.
This is the introduction of manna. The Jewish people complain, and they have nothing to eat. What are they going to do? Right? So God makes it rain, not only slav, not slav, slav. What do they call it? What's the translation? Slav. Quails. Thank you. Right, quails. English isn't my first language, but then also manna. Right. So God says to the Jewish people, God tells Moshe to tell the Jewish people that in the evening it's going to rain quail, and in the morning you're going to have food from heaven. Right. So what happens is, if you look at the pasuk, it says, "V'yora b'nei Israel." The Jewish people looked, v'yomer, and they said, "Ish el achiv," each one to his friend, or each one to his brother. Right, manhu, right, and that's where you get into a big sticky molasses of mess. What does manhu mean? So a lot of people think it means that the colloquial way of thinking is, what is this? They said, what is this? I don't think there's any classical commentator that translates it that way. But anyway, it's an easy way, it's a simple way of getting out of the problem. Because they said, manhu, what is this? We'll go back into it, but for the moment, we'll use that. What is it, right? Ki lo yadu manhu, because they didn't know what it was. Right, you follow?
Mm-hmm.
And Moshe says to them, right, it's the food which God has given you to eat. Oh, he's explaining it. You follow?
Mm-hmm. But why is manhu mean what is it? Why is man mean what? Like I thought ma means what?
Exactly. Okay, now you're getting into the whole problem, right? Right.
Is this what we always try to get to the point where we finally understand the question?
We understand the question. So Rashi comes along and says, what's manhu mean? Right? Not what is it, but how do you prepare it? How do you make this stuff? Basically. Right?
What do you do with it? What spices? Do you cook it? Do you bake it? Do you boil
it? Exactly. Right? And the Malbim comes and explains that they were expecting, when God said, I'm going to give lechem from Shemayim, bread from heaven, they were expecting wheat or barley or something like that. And here they got this fuzzy stuff, they don't know what it is. Right? They got this fuzzy stuff, they don't know what it is. And so Moshe comes along and says, no, you don't prepare it. They're going, they just see this fuzzy stuff. What is it? How do you make it? And Moshe comes along and says, no, you don't make it. This is it. WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. If the problem is it doesn't quite fit, and everybody, I don't know everybody, but an awful lot of the classical commentators have a problem because it doesn't quite fit the verses. It leaves you quite unsatisfied. I should say that. Right? So let's go through them again. Right? The Yeru b'nei Israel, the Jewish people saw. God tells them it's going to be quail at night and bread in the morning, right? So that night they get the quail, all good. They were having a nice, chicken fingers and falafel with chicken. It's not chicken, it's quail. Apparently quail is very fatty. Rashi says this. And go, oh, that's very nice, right? Tomorrow we're going to have bread for breakfast, right? Lechem. It's going to come from heaven. Maybe have some eggs, a little hot dog, maybe. I don't know, right? Some of the quail leftovers, right? And they wake up and they see the manna. They don't know what it is. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
But the pasuk reads very strangely because the pasuk V'yiru b'nei Israel, the Jewish people saw. V'yiru b'nei Israel. What did they see? It doesn't tell you what they saw. This is they see. It's completely unnecessary. Those three words are completely unnecessary because the pasuk could have just gone, right? The manna landed, and then it would have said, each one said to his brother, what is it? You follow? That's
Wait,
how
I
the
don't
pasuk
understand. What's the problem here? It
You
says
don't need
in
to
the
say,
pasuk before that there was a dew, and then on top of the dew there was my
right,
translation says a fine and flaky substance as fine
right,
as frost on the ground. So it's like
right.
it snowed, right? Like
That's
it
exactly
snowed.
right. Something like that. Right, exactly. Right. So the Torah comes and tells you that they saw it.
They saw
Why,
the frost.
why do we need to know that? Of course they saw it. It's surrounding them. You follow?
Maybe it's not so much like the pshat that they saw it, but it was more like seeing and wondering.
That's very good. But that is all encapsulated in the 5 words. V'yomu ish elakav, the 6 words, manho. Each one said, what is it? Or how do you prepare it? I think it'll be very hard put to find anywhere else in the Torah where the Torah says they saw it.
So why would the Torah say that? Why would Hashem make that so? Because the
Right.
Torah is very concise. Why would Hashem
Right.
say they saw
Right.
it?
Right,
Wait,
they saw it.
does it say that about
they
like the
saw it.
quails? It doesn't say
No.
that about the quails, right?
No, exactly.
Maybe
Wait.
they saw it and spoke Lashon Hara about it.
They you could say that 100%. Very good. And that is encapsulated in those 6 words. Each one said to his brother, what is it?
Maybe
yeah, sorry.
maybe it's because of what it is. Like if it's divine food, then it's something that you shouldn't be able to see.
Very good. But it still doesn't answer the question that they saw it. Why is it? Of course they saw it. They're asking the question, what is it? Or how do you prepare it?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are the clouds still surrounding them and below them as well?
Seemingly, yes.
So is it possible for them to confuse the clouds that they usually travel on top of with
I don't think so.
no.
Good try. Good try. I like
All
that.
right. So I'm
Like
out of ideas then, Rabbi.
yeah,
But
you're
maybe
gonna.
all Nevi'im. They were seeing. They're all Nevi'im, so they're seeing the future
Of what?
of the man and what the significance of it was already.
I'm not quite sure what how that answers the question. Why is the Torah telling you that they saw it? If the Torah is telling you that they saw it, it's because you would have thought what?
That they didn't notice it?
They didn't notice it. The Torah wants you to know that they noticed it. Why would you think that they didn't notice it?
Because it's such a thin layer of frost.
No, because where did the manna land?
Oh, right next to them.
Surrounding the camp. And where did the quail land?
I don't know. Let's go look back. It covered the camp.
Yvonne? So you might have thought that they didn't notice it because they were expecting the manna to come on top of them in the same way that the quail came on top of them, but it didn't. It surrounded the camp, and that's very important because that's part of the whole process of them the whole process of them how they relate to the man. See, if you look a little further on, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating, that it says that throughout the time that they had the man, it fell every day except Shabbos, right? And anybody who look at verse right? Anybody who took more, it reduced, right? Where is it now? But whoever took more, it was juice, and whoever took less, it was enough.
This is sort of like the whole bitachon idea. Is that like no matter how much you work, God's still giving you whatever you're supposed to get. So you might measure like this and you might measure like that, but in the end, you get exactly what you're supposed to get.
That's true. That's you look at verse 17. Oh no, so verse 18. We were doing the one that took more, it became less, and the one that took less, it became more. Right? No, they weren't lacking. See verse 18?
Mm-hmm.
But what about the person who took exactly the right amount?
Then there's no worries.
Right. So what about him?
There's nothing about him.
It doesn't say anything about him.
Right. He took the right amount.
Because there's no such thing.
What do you mean? There's no such thing. It's an
According
omer. How much is an omer?
At the end of the Parsha, it tells you how much, the end of this whole Parsha, it tells you how big an omer is. But nevertheless, it all goes according to how much you actually need. So the one who took less, the one who took more, it became less. And the one who took less, it came out to exactly what he needed. He didn't lack.
So you're saying that nobody knew exactly how much they needed, and so therefore they never took exactly what they needed. Either they took a little bit more or a little bit less, and then God fixed it.
You see, how much dessert should you give your children so they understand that life is good?
Just enough so that they don't get sick and they appreciate it.
Yes, but what's the right amount? We don't know the right amounts. You never get the right amount. You never get the right amount. Discipline, you never get the right amount. If anything, we don't know the right amounts. Sometimes we give too much, right? If you give, let's just use a simple example. You give your children an allowance. How much is the right amount so that they don't become complacent and they still have a value for money, right? And how much is too little so they're not resentful? There's no number.
It also depends on the kid too, no?
100% it depends on the kid, but you can't know the number. You can't, we don't, in the world, the world of Ruchnius is exact, and the world of Gashmius is exact, but they don't exactly match. In other words, there's the right amount of electricity that I have to pump through my house so the light bulbs don't blow. Right?
Mhm.
There's a perfect, there's an optimal amount of energy that can go through the wires. Right? But when it comes to Ruchnius, that's interfacing with Gashmius, when their spiritual world interfaces with the physical world, it's not an exact science. There's no exactness in it. You can't get it right. So you're always compensating. You're always dealing with the aftermath of it. In other words, the one who gets more, the one who's got two, let's just use poverty and wealth as a simple paradigm. The one who's got too much money, right? Jeff Bezos is going to have a lot of problems. So he is going to have to compensate for that and deal with the issues he's going to have in his life, right? And the one who's dealing with abject poverty is too little, right? Is going to see the hand of God and he's going to protect him and he's going to take care of him. And it's all going to work out. But he's got to be able to see it so he doesn't become resentful. We're all dealing with either too much or too little, right? Our whole lives are like that. We all experience that. Whether it's
You
a parent.
You mean no one ever gets to the point of ever feeling like, okay, they're good, like God's taking care of them and they have what they need?
That's where you're supposed to get to, but you have to be able to fill in the gap. You have to do that.
What do you mean you have to do that? Aren't you like just being happy with whatever it is God gave you?
That's exactly right. But you have to fill in the gap because you have to be happy with whatever God gives you. Because whatever He gives you is not going to do it for you. You have to fill in the gap. So the person who got less, it worked out. But he's not. His trial is I didn't have what I needed. I'm hungry. So the Almighty will take care of him, and he won't feel hungry. But he's gonna is then.
So the gap is just his thinking has to change. Is that what you're saying?
I'll give you a practical example. Right?
Yes,
and
please.
I've had this experience quite a few times. So not recently, many years ago, because it's not so common. It doesn't occur anymore. But it was a known thing that polio victims have recurrence of the symptoms. Right. So this kid from a mining village, and this is not an untypical example. There are actual cases like this. The mining village ends up in an iron lung, right? Because that's what polio sometimes would do, attack the lungs, right? And the treatment, there was no cure, but there was a treatment, and it was very painful. And what they would do is they would wrap the kid in these boiling hot towels, like just short of melting the skin. It's very painful. And then they would throw them in these freezing cold pools of water. And they would keep doing this to work the muscles, because polio typically, not sometimes it did, but typically it didn't destroy the muscle tissue completely. It left a little bit. And you're taking that little bit and you're working it, and you get back the use of whatever happened, whatever limb was attacked. So this little kid is now in an iron lung, and the doctors come and they say, listen, you can be in an iron lung for the rest of your life, and some people unfortunately were, or you can go through the treatment program and you can walk out of here by yourself on your own steam, right? So the kid takes it on, and he walks out, right? And they have career day in his mining village, and the career officer goes around the room. They get to this kid. He says, "What would you like to be?" And one kid says, "I like to be the head janitor." And the other guy says, "I like to be Santa Claus in the shopping mall." And they get to this kid. He says, "I want to be a NASA astronaut." And everyone rolls out laughing, including the career officer. So he says to him, "Listen, little Johnny, you don't understand. To get a job like that in NASA, you have to have a PhD in science." So the kid says, "I know." He says, "You don't know. Like, to get a PhD, you have to get a bachelor of science." He says, "I know." He says, "You don't know." He says, "No one from this high school ever got a bachelor of science." Right? So the kid says, "No one from this high school walked out of an iron lung." Right? So what happened was these kids are showing up 20 years later, and I've met polio victims, and this is true. Showing up 20 years, recurrence of the symptoms, and what they theorized is that these kids were working this small little muscle, part of their muscle, like they're pumping iron all day long. Now the body is not meant, right? Despite what Arnold Schwarzenegger might tell you, the body's not meant to walk around like that all the time. It's not. It's wearing the muscles out. It's not supposed to be that, right? You're not supposed to look like that, right? So these kids are really working their muscles so that after 20, 30 years, the muscles gave up. They couldn't do it. Now with modern science and understanding of physiology, they're able to give them treatments and deal with it, and so they got back on their feet, right? But one of the things that the doctors noticed, and it was recorded, that an awful lot of these kids were overachievers. And I've met polio victims. It's totally true. It's a very strange thing because you don't usually find this. What you find is that a whole family are overachievers. That's usually what you find. Right? You don't usually find one brother or one sister is like exceptional and everybody else is just, making do with minimum wage. You don't find that, right? Except in polio. So it's always strange, and it always bothered me why this was so. And this explained it. So I asked the polio victims, I said to them like this. I said, I tell them the story and everything. I said, now you understand that your success in life was because of the polio. Now, anyone who had polio never looked back at that experience and says, "Oh, joy." Right? It was horrendous. Not only was it incredibly painful, but it robbed them of their childhood. Because they never went back to school the same way. They were always they couldn't play sports anymore. They were never got 100% back, right? So it was very difficult, very different emotional experience, taxing on the family, everything. So I said to them, now you understand that it's because of your polio that you have the success in life. So now let me ask you a question. Which would you rather have? No polio, and you live the life of your siblings, and they know what that means, right? Or have the polio, and you have the life you have now. Which would you take? They all said the same thing.
I'm guessing a successful life.
No.
Really? They said they would have preferred not to have gone through all that and been just like their brothers and sisters.
No.
I'm now confused.
So was I. What they said is, I want the successful life without the polio.
But of course, that's like the third choice, Gan Eden.
I said, I'm not giving you that choice. So they all agree. Okay, fine. If I only make two choices, I'm going to have the successful life. But that's what this pasuk is.
The third choice doesn't exist, you're saying. It's either less or more, and that's it.
Right. And you're going to have to deal with it. There's always going to be an issue, whether it's more, right? And you're going to have to be this rich kid that's got problems, drug addictions and all the other junk that comes with the rich lifestyle, or it's the less. It's like the polio victim, and you have to deal with resentments and like, why me, and why do I have to go through all of this?
Which part of the parsha is connected? The Vayaru B'nai Israel or the Manhu?
What do you mean?
Which words are related to, that there's no third choice?
Oh, okay, very good. That's very good, because that's the whole idea, that it's fruit lechem from heaven. Very good.
Huh?
Right? Is bread from heaven. It comes out from the sky, right? It's going to be a meaningful experience. The whole way you relate to it is going to be a meaningful experience. But let's get back now. Okay. So anyway, so we really digressed on a digression. So the pasuk wants you to know that they saw it, because you might have thought that they didn't see it. Right? You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So if you would have thought that they didn't see it, then the question, manhu, must have been what? Not what is it, not how do you make it, but
What is it?
what's
Wait,
that?
no, wait. No, say that again. If it's not what is it or how you make it.
If the Torah wants you to know that they saw it, because you might have thought that they didn't see it, then the question that they asked, manhu, is not what is it, but
Why?
no.
How?
What?
Then it's how?
No. Where is it?
What do you mean, where is it? It said it surrounded the camp.
That's right. So the Torah wants you to know that they saw it. So that when they ask the question, where is it? That makes sense. The Torah says they saw it. It's staring you right in the face. The solutions to all your life are right there. One day, please God, 120 years old, we're going to get upstairs and we're going to say, where was the solution? It's right there. It's right
You
there.
mean they saw it, but they didn't recognize what it was.
That's what the Torah, that's exactly right. You boom, boom, boom. Zita gets tonight's star prize. 2 weeks in the Costa del Sol. Paid vacation by the local Parsha. Like, but it's right there, because the pastor says they saw it. Right? Look, go read through the verse. Right? They saw it, right? And each one said, "Where is it?" You know, it's like your husband brings you home a birthday present, a vacuum cleaner. Not your husband. So you say to your husband, "Where's the present?" You know,
Yeah.
You can imagine such a thing. Someone that did something, right? I'll admit my sins right now. Right? I think it was our second wedding ever. So if it was the first or second, we still laugh about it. But my wife had wanted a camera. These are the days when cameras were not like they are today. So I bought her a camera for her birthday. She was not happy. It didn't work. It wasn't good. I understand why now, right? But you say you're going to be looking at your present. You don't get it because you're thinking pony, right? You're a teenager, but daddy's going to buy me a pony for my birthday. You follow? And he buys you a brand new electric toothbrush. What? You understand? So they're seeing it. So they say to each other, right? Where is it? They know it must have happened, but where is it? All there is this do stuff in the backyard, right? So the pasuk says, how come they saw it? They didn't know where it was, right? And so the Torah says, right? Why didn't they know where it was, right? Because they didn't know what it was. They didn't know what this was that they were looking at. And so Moshe comes along and says, no, this is it. This is what bread from heaven looks like.
They
This
saw
is
it,
the
they
light.
didn't know what it was, and they're thinking, where is it what Moshe told us we're gonna get?
Right. They got the quail the last night. God said quail, they got quail. This morning they're expecting bread from heaven. Right? They got bread from the bakery. They know what that's like. Bread from heaven's gonna be phenomenal.
Right.
Okay, the thing that's the most similar to this is marriage, because it's a match made in heaven. So people look at it. What are you talking about? Match made in heaven. I wanted breakfast and bread. What is this? Is it? I hire a butler. I get breakfast in bed. Right? He does the laundry, vacuums the house, takes care of all my problems. Right, folks? A spouse that is a match made in heaven is going to be better than that, right? Where is it? Where is the match made in heaven? No, this is the match made in heaven. You don't know what you're looking at. Making sense?
So
Clear as mud.
so
Yeah.
the part about the how you don't have a choice, like with polio. That's they thought, oh wait, where's the bread? We're expecting
Where's the
baker's bread.
right? Where's the cinnamon rolls? Where's the challah? Where's the chocolate frosting? Where's the sourdough? The crunchy bagels with lox and the whole deal. And Moshe says, no, this is it. This is what bread from heaven looks like.
This is what's best for you.
It's perfect, absolutely perfect. Right? Perfect for you. Right? Because when you go out, you take too much, it gets too small. And when you don't take enough, it gets enough. Now, if you're smart, what will you take?
More.
What, really, why?
I don't know. Just sounds better.
It does sound better. But what's the
Hey,
problem?
God's giving it to you, right? Like, hey, God's giving it to you, so might as well take more.
An omer, right? This the end of the parsha. So Rashi says that an omer, how big is it? I think it's he says Rashi brings it down. I think it's like 48 eggs.
48 eggs?
Yeah.
That's not a lot, Rabbi.
Yeah, how it is.
If you take one of those Costco, what is it like 18 eggs, right? So it's like 3 of those packages. That's not that much.
Right, 40 is 43 and a fifth eggs. 43 eggs. That's 12, 24, 36, 48. So you've got basically almost 4 dozen eggs. Right? And you've got 10 children. Right? So that's 4 dozen.
Oh, that's per person.
40, right, per person. You follow?
Yeah. So you just take as much as you think you need. That's it.
No. What would you take?
I guess it's easier if you take less and then God fixes it for you so you have less to carry.
That's right. Take 1 egg per person.
But isn't that like not doing your hishtadlut? Because they said take an omer. So if you take like significantly less than an omer, you're saying take 1/43 of an omer. That doesn't seem that seems I don't know, that doesn't seem kosher.
Exactly. That's what happened. The guy would come back and his spouse would say, you only bought 10 eggs. That's not the proper hishtadlus. Get back there and get all the eggs so you can feel like God's not going to reward you with more eggs. You understand?
And then what would happen? All of a sudden, the eggs would multiply?
Yeah. Well, however it worked, I don't know the process by how it worked, but however it worked, it became what you needed.
Something about this doesn't sound completely, I don't know.
Sure it does.
What was the wording? What was the wording? Is it if it was a little bit more or a little bit less, right? What was the wording? I can't remember where it is now.
Verse 18.
Verse 18. Okay. Vayamodu omer velo ha'edif hamarbeh.
One had more. One had he didn't. The one who took more did not have any extra. The hamit and the one who took less did not lack anything. So don't be an idiot. Take less. You don't need a Bentley, right? And everything will work out. You'll have more than enough.
Right. Right. So I guess this really I mean, the mentality is more like don't grab for things, just like wait for God to give it to you almost.
We have everything we need, staring us in the face.
So this relates to the gray sheet.
That's a good question. I don't think so. At least you're going to have to upgrade your quality of rabbi to get the answer to that question.
That's how we got to this parsha, Rabbi. Remember you said it relates to this week's parsha.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, you're so sharp. I'm telling you, keeping me on my toes. What's that? But you'll have to remind me when I said that. I don't remember. I remember saying it. I just don't remember what I was talking about. Bring me back. Later this is fine.
Verse 9. Verse 9. Verse chapter 2, verse 9, right? Where we talked about the tree of life and the tree of knowledge and
tree of knowledge. So knowledge doesn't mean knowledge is not bad. And that's how Christianity took it. The knowledge is bad. So we all know from Judaism and Torah that no Jew considers we have the most open-minded civilization in ever that was ever. Right? I mean, you can't find another people, another belief, another that is so disparaging of its own people as Jews are. I mean, Hirsch points this out. Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg, Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg, he said it could be Hirsch. Hirsch does say something similar to this. But Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg used to say that if the Torah wasn't written by God, it'd have to be written by an anti-Semite. Right. So therefore, what does the tree of knowledge mean? To be continued next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shabbat
All
shalom.
the best. Welcome. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
How do I get out?